Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Apple TV's second season to Monarch Legacy of Monsters, Episode 1, entitled Cause and Effect. This show stars Anna Sway, I believe I'm saying her name right, as well as Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell. Season 2 picks up directly after season 1, where we saw Russell's character of Lee Shaw be left behind in this little vortex on Skull Island in order to save everyone else. And that's where we left off. Picks up right at that moment where we have our team from the first season plotting to return to the island to save Shaw. This show, I watched season 1, but 2 years ago was when it premiered. I didn't even know it got picked up for season 2 because I heard nothing after that first season. I didn't read anything about it. Did it get picked up? Or are we going to get more of this show? And I was all right with it. you know, it wasn't one of my favorite shows when it premiered, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Uh, I had to constantly remind myself that this show is called Monarch and not Godzilla, it's not Khan, it's Monarch. So you're gonna follow this watchdog agency that watches the Titans. So it's not a lot of monsters. You get a lot of monsters, but it's not Godzilla versus Kong, the movies. And that was another thing too. I was wondering if it was linked to those movies, and for the most part, it's not really. At least not the most recent films that have come out. Godzilla Khan, um, um, what was it, New Empire or something like that. All those. I don't think those movies linked up with this, and that's a good thing, because those movies weren't the greatest. They were what they were, two giant kaijus fighting. That's all it was. There was no story there. The thing about Monarch Legacy of Monsters is all story. It's mostly dialogue driven, character driven, and that's good. I want that in everything I watch. Whether it's a goofy comedy or whatever. I want character driven storytelling, and this is definitely that. The thing that also kind of threw me off in that first season, and I hate to describe it that way by saying it threw me off, like I didn't like it. I liked it, but it was just a little draggy. It was the flashback element of the show. You're in present time, and then all of a sudden you go flashback. We're back in the 50s with Wyatt Russell. And then when we go to present time, we're with Kurt Russell. And in case you don't know, yes, they are father and son. If you haven't seen a picture of them or just been living under a rock, of course, they're father and son. And they're playing the same character. They're playing the younger version. Well, at least Wyatt is playing the younger version of Lee Shaw, whereas Kurt is playing the older version, duh. And that's the best element of this show. It's not the monsters. It's not the political intrigue or whatever that that is wrapped up in Monarch. No, it's the performances of Kurt and Wyatt Russell that keeps you coming back. And I love that about this show because I can't remember in any other franchise, film, television show, whatever, where they have two different characters playing a younger and older version of themselves where I was believing it. Rather it be they cast two actors that look nothing like one another, or they cast two actors that just one isn't up to the caliber of the other, or whatever the case may be. It just didn't always match. Every now and then you get a good pairing, but it's not too often. Here, you pretty much knew. I mean, there's father and son, but they're appearance is so uncanny, obviously, but it's the other thing. It's the speech patterns. It's the facial tics that I think they just have. That's just who they are. It's a Russell curse. They do things similar, being as though they're father and son, and they bring that to this role, to this character, and you get lost in it. And I really didn't really feel it all last season until I got to this episode 1 of season 2, when it really hit me like a ton of bricks that I got completely lost in Lee Shaw. It wasn't Kurt Russell. It wasn't Russell. It was Lee Shaw. And I believe the fact that they were playing the same character. Now, they did a good job in the first season, don't get me wrong, but it's just something about this episode where it really clicked. Now, this could be a me thing. It could have been there in the first season, but I don't know. It's something about watching it go around this episode where I was just lost in it. I was completely lost in that. And I loved every second those two were on screen. Unfortunately, we'll never see them on screen together in this show unless they add a time travel element to it, and then you lost me. But just seeing them play this role is a joy to me. Another knock, I guess you could say, from last season, it wasn't a lot of action. Didn't have a lot of action to say that it's a MonsterVerse property. The way this first episode is set up, it lets me know that season 2 is going to have a lot more action, and not action just for action's sake, to drive the story forward. The action that we got in the first episode, I felt drove the story forward to whereas I want more. I can't wait for next week because you're setting things up. And we didn't get a lot of that in the first season. I think the first season was more of a setup for our characters, for us to get to know them, get their motivations, what's driving them, and so on and so forth. And it took 10 episodes to do it, but they did it. Like I said, my thing about last season was the fact that it just drug. It felt like it drug to me. Already in episode 1, I don't feel that. I feel like everything is established. We know what Monarch is all about. If I could talk, Monarch is all about. We know what our characters are all about, and we know what the Titans are all about. So we are just scrapping in and enjoying the ride here going forward. Whereas season 1 focused a little bit more on Godzilla. We didn't get Kong until the very last episode of the first season. Already this episode 1 of season 2, we got a lot of Kong. We even got him sleeping. We got a lot of Kong in this episode, and the promise of a lot more in this season. And out of all the monsters in the MonsterVerse, King Kong is my fave. If you can't tell by now, I just love King Kong. And so to have more of him, that's a plus. Everything else was fine. The actors were fine. One thing that immediately made my head hurt watching this episode, and it's the one knock I have on this episode, is the visual effects. Now, I know this is television, and I know that the budgets are different from a $200 million feature film, but the visual effects were not good in this episode. And I'm not even talking about the monsters, the Titans here. That was fine. Those look good. It was the green screen for everything else. When they were on the boat, it was a scene in the beginning of the episode where our character of Keiko, she wakes up and she runs out of down this hallway. You think she's in this facility, a building, I should say, opens the door to the outside, and come to find out she's on this ship, this Monarch ship. And when they panned out and showed the boat, it just looked so fake. I mean, fake beyond fake. Now I can accept it in certain medias, in certain properties, because the budget. I'm mindful of, okay, I know I'm watching a television show. I know this is on CW or whatever. I know that this isn't gonna look like Titanic, but my God, you're in a you this is a show that is effects heavy. We're dealing with monsters, we're dealing with different dimensions or worlds or whatever, pocket universes, whatever. Yeah, it's going to have a lot of visual effects. So wouldn't you want to focus on that to look good? It just didn't look good. It in certain areas. It was that boat shot. It was the shot when our team of heroes are trying to sneak past a sleeping King Kong. It just didn't look it, it just looked bad. I don't know how else to describe it. It just looked bad. And it kind of took me out of it for a few minutes. Now, it wasn't like that throughout every single visual effects shot. Not all of them looked bad. Like I said, the monsters look great. Kong looked great. That other Titan, that creature that escaped out of this little pocket universe or whatever, that looked great. That looked awesome, that thing. It was mainly the visual effects shots that involved humans being in the shot as well, because you could tell they was in front of a green screen, and it will take you out of it. But besides that, I did like the episode. I liked it enough that I'm looking forward to next week for episode 2. And so, with all that said, I'm all in on it. I'm happy it's back. Like I said, to start off the show, didn't know it was coming back. I did not know that it got picked up for a season 2. Glad that it did, because it left with a cliffhanger. And I hate when shows do that. I hate when movies do that. They decide to just say, you know what, we're good. We're going to cancel it, even if it's good or bad. It infuriates me, because I want a nice. I'm big on closure. Let's just close it. Just give me one more episode. Commit to doing one more episode to tie everything up in a nice little shiny red bow. If you're gonna cancel it or not. Yeah, that's my thing. But don't just leave people hanging. you know. But we don't have to worry about hanging on anymore, because Monarch Legacy of Monsters is back on Apple TV for your viewing pleasure. I would like to know, did you check out episode 1 of season 2 to Monarch Legacy of Monsters, or did you say I'm good with season 1 and you not worried about a season 2? I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Monarch Legacy of Monsters season 2 episode 1. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.